The question really is how we do it. And various people have talked about different approaches to the use of technology. I think we have leaned on technology very heavily. I think we will continue to use technology, but perhaps in a more selective, more rational way. We'll try our best to look at the long-term impacts of a given practice, a given product, a given whatever that goes into the production activity. And we'll try to understand as best we possibly can from today's vantage point, today's ability to measure effects, what will happen 10 years, 20 years from now as a result of using this. And I mean not just biologically, not just within the soil profile or the groundwater, but also what will happen socially as a result of this change, minor or major. What will this do to the structure of agriculture? Will it make agriculture as a whole more or less sustainable, more viable economically for how many people? We need to look at our technology, put it up against some new yardsticks. And I think this is a difficult one. We measure production in one way. We measure bushels per acre or tons per hectare.
How much?
How much? We weigh.
Yep.
Likewise, we measure our economic success in dollars per acre, less frequently in dollars per farm, but mostly net profit per acre. Now, are these the real yardsticks that are going to sustain us? They happen to be our current measuring sticks, but do we need something that in fact measures production or economic gain, economic return per unit of limited resource? Here it's water in Nebraska. Eventually, in many places, it will be energy. How do we measure against an energy or a resource or a water yardstick? What about quality of life? What about an environmental yardstick? Can we put an environmental sustainability yardstick? Indonesia, for example, is beginning to look at a new term. They're not looking at gross national product. They're looking at what they call GSP, gross sustainable product.
In Indonesia?
In Indonesia. They've, in fact, discontinued the use of many insecticides in that country with precisely these concerns in mind, energy and environment. So there are models around. We hear over and over that we are the most productive, we are the envy of the world, and we are in many ways. Perhaps we shouldn't be in some ways. We obviously have a high standard of living. People perhaps should aspire to be healthier and live better and have good diet. They probably would not aspire to some of the consequences of the systems that we're implementing, and we need to learn more about those. As we export ideas, as we export people with our training, we need to look at this problem-solving process. What can be sustained in the long term? And we need to keep in mind that we are only the most efficient envy of the world, if you like, against one yardstick.
That's true. You're talking about different values entirely.
We're the best, if you want to call it that, in terms of return to labor.
Yeah.
Any other yardstick, and we're behind many other places, yields per acre are far greater in places where they multiple crop the land and get anywhere from 3 to 6 crops per year. Yield per unit of capital invested, we're probably among the lowest because we have very high investment capital. Yield per unit of water use, where you have rain-fed agriculture, it's much more efficient. Yield per unit of energy invested, some of the more extensive rotations or gathering kinds of systems are far more efficient than ours.
We are
10 or 20 times more efficient.